Hi, I'm Jim Riley. Welcome to our program. Today, we'll raise some questions, latch on to some answers, and lower the boom on accidents. We lift and move things every day. We can handle most objects by ourselves without the use of machines. But sometimes arm strength just isn't enough. Many times it takes more power to get the big jobs done. That's why we use cranes. You might find one type of crane right in your own backyard. Hang a rope over a tree limb and you can make the simplest kind of crane. But working with industrial cranes requires a lot more knowledge. There are many types of cranes. Although they share similarities, they also have important differences. Let's take a closer look. Most industrial cranes fall into three basic categories: overhead cranes, jib cranes, and boom cranes. Overhead cranes are attached to support platforms or the walls of buildings. These cranes move along bridges to carry their loads, usually in a straight line. Unlike other cranes, they really don't have much range of motion. Jib cranes, such as the wall crane, have an arm which suspends a hoist rope, block, and hook, and can pivot to position loads. It's important to remember that a jib crane's arm cannot be adjusted for angle. It is locked into a horizontal position. But the crane's hoist block may be able to move along the jib arm. Boom cranes, such as truck or tower cranes, are the most complicated group. Boom cranes are similar to jib cranes in that they also have a hoist rope and a hook, both of which hang from an arm. However, where a jib arm is locked into a horizontal position, a boom arm can be adjusted for angle and length. There are many variables to take into account when you are dealing with boom cranes. In fact, operators usually require special training in order to use these cranes. Cranes are powerful and complicated machines, so it is important to take the time to get to know them before working with them. The first thing that you should do before working with a crane is to locate the standard safety devices that all cranes have. There are two types: general safety devices and operational safety devices. General safety devices include bells and warning lights. If sensors detect a problem, the devices will sound off or blink. Other common general safety devices include horns and warning tags. They are used to alert coworkers when a crane is moving, or if it is not functioning properly and should not be used. Operational safety devices, such as overload indicators, emergency stop buttons, and limit switches, monitor or control the handling capability of the equipment. For example, a limit switch cuts off the power when a crane reaches the end of its range of movement. After locating the safety devices, it's important to inspect the crane thoroughly. You can often prevent accidents by finding small problems before they become major malfunctions and cause your crane to break down. Start by checking the crane's fluid levels to see if they are within acceptable limits. Next, try out the controls to see if the crane is ready for operation. Also, test the brakes to make sure that they are functioning properly. Then, start the crane up. By listening for unusual noises, you can track down leaks and other potentially serious problems. While you are inspecting the crane, pay special attention to the hook. Hooks are used to attach the load to the hoist rope. Never use a hook with a broken or bent safety latch on it. The sling could slip off the hook and damage the load. Be on the lookout for stretched or twisted hooks as well. If a hook opening is stretched 15% or more from its original size, or twisted more than 10 degrees, it should be replaced. One more thing, always check the weight limits on any crane before you use it. Once you have completed a general inspection, you need to focus on the particular type of crane that you are using. Let's start with the overhead crane. Remember, this type of crane rides on a bridge or rail. These bridges have end stops, which prevent cranes from running off, and bumpers that reduce the impact when the crane reaches the end of the line. Since these parts are prone to wear and tear, you should make sure that the stops and bumpers are secure before using the crane. When you are working with a jib crane, make sure you know the jib arm's range of motion. Without this knowledge, you could get your hands or fingers caught in the equipment. Check the arm for bent supports or misalignment as well. This should also be done periodically while you are using the crane. You should also check the hoist brake. Make sure it can hold and lower the crane's load safely. Most boom crane accidents are the result of mistakes made during setup. By using the load chart, making sure that the crane is level, and knowing the capacity of the slings that you are using, you can prevent a lot of problems. A boom crane is equipped with legs called outriggers, which are used to position and level the crane. Start by extending the outriggers and placing them on solid ground. Wood or metal plates are often used to ensure secure footing. After extending the outriggers, check the level inside the cab to see if the crane is parallel to the ground. If it isn't, and you try to make a lift, the crane could become severely damaged. An unbalanced crane can also tip over and damage equipment or injure a co-worker. So take the time to level the crane with the outriggers. Another important step to take when setting up a boom crane for a lift is to consult the crane's load chart. The load chart lists the weight capacities for the crane at various boom angles and lengths. You can find the load chart by looking for the copy that is permanently attached to the crane, or by asking your supervisor, who usually has a copy available. When you are calculating the weight of the load, be sure to include all lifting accessories, such as the rigging, the block, and the hook. Make sure you find the right boom length and angle that is needed for the lift. If you take the time to understand the load chart before you begin, you will be well on your way to a safe lift.